Chris Weeks, how's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. How about yourself?
Yeah, doing really well. Doing really well. For some reason, we have Stuart Lee, back on the podcast today from episode one. How's it going, Stu?
Back again for my second go at this. The original Jeff Capes lookalike.
Jeff
Back in the building.
Capes. So we have Stuart was episode one where he came on and spoke about his past mental health problems, alcohol addiction, all that spicy stuff, and it started to get some organic traffic on YouTube. So strangers basically, and we know the internet can be a tough place sometimes. And we had two really standout comments. One of them was Jeff Capes has really let himself go. I didn't know who Jeff Capes was, but it's basically you. Have you seen Jeff Capes? Do you know who that is, Chris?
I know. Yeah. I just assumed it was its mates, but now
Yeah,
you
so
say
did I. Yeah. What's better? We had another one who said, "Wow, the former BDO darts champion Andy Fordham has let himself go." Oh yeah, but look, this is the internet, Stuart, and that's just what we can can expect.
It's just a good job. I don't care what people think of me anymore.
Well, we'll see, guys. Let us know in the comments who else you think Stuart looks like. Who else has let themselves go and jumped on the Zoom call. Anyway, Chris, thanks for coming on. I know you've got a lot to say about the mental health space and Andy's Man Club. I can see you've got a few banners behind you, and I'm really interested to hear about the work that you guys have been doing and your involvement within that organization. And I know Stuart speaks very highly of you as one of the facilitators and obviously the organization as a whole. So how about you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you sort of came about getting involved in Andy's Man Club and what it's all about.
Yeah, I've been involved with Andy's Man Club for about 18 months, thereabouts now. Basically, I'm a facilitator at the Exeter Group now. It's one of 28 groups in the country, and we're just there to have a natter on a Monday night. Sort of going a little bit deeper than you'd normally do in the pub. The conversations we have are a little bit more structured, so it's not just a case of turning up and saying, "Shit weather today, wasn't it?" Or how's your favourite sports team doing? We sort of give the opportunity for guys to go a little bit deeper into what's going on in their minds. I was there originally because I needed a bit of help. My mind wasn't working the way it should. Well, that's certainly how I felt at the time. I didn't really know what was going on, but it wasn't a very happy place to be. Turned up having seen a poster, not really knowing what the deal was, but immediately felt very, very welcome. And from there, I've barely missed a week since. It's something that has become very much part of my life.
Awesome. So Andy's Man Club is it's an organization set up for, is it men only? Is it exclusive to men?
Yes, it's
Cool.
men only.
And it is for, just guys to get together on a Monday night to talk about, their lives, their mental health. And I am assuming that, when you say there's a bit of structure to it, that means there's a little bit of method to it, a little bit of thinking that's gone into it, a little bit of strategy to actually get certain types of men to actually open up and start feeling sort of confidence. What does that structure look like?
So it's basically, to use any other phrase, it's structured very much like a shit sandwich. So you turn up, it's an easy way in. Then he goes a little bit deeper, and then we end on a high. So what that means is we've got a series of questions, 5 questions every week, and we've basically just chucked this ball around and do it in turn. When you've got the ball, you're allowed to speak. When you haven't got the ball, that's your time to shut up and listen. Mm-hmm. And people are very, very keen to listen, and they get very supportive of the other guys in the room. So question 1 is always something simple, something along the lines of, "How's your week been?" People can either say "shit," "good," or they can go into more detail, and it's up to each individual to decide what is the right thing for them at that moment. We'll follow that up with let's have a positive from your week, which some guys find very easy to answer. Some guys find it much harder. And from there on, we've got one of the deeper parts of the evening where we go. So we've been around the circle twice at this point, and we'll go there and again with let's have something to get off your chest. And some people use that as an opportunity to say, yeah, I passed my exams this week, or something that's they're really proud of. I'd say the majority of people use it to have a moan about something that's happened in the week or something that's really been bugging them. Sometimes it's something in the news. The evening goes on like that, and it tends to end on a bit of a frivolous question, or something like simple like, what bit of music gets you on the dance floor, or what's your favourite dad joke, or something, just to bring the mood back up, and on we go for the rest of the week. So it's really the sky's the limit when it comes to what you can talk about. We do have 3 rules basically. What gets said in the room stays in the room. Listen to what's being said, no fiddling back with your phones, and no talking about religion, politics, or medication. We find those topics can be a little bit divisive, so we leave them at the door, and just talk about general everyday stuff. So
that's amazing. So Andy's Man Club sounds like just what the world needs at the moment. It's pretty evident that mental health is a big, poor mental health is a big killer of men at the moment. I'm not sure what the suicide rates are at the moment, but I believe Andy's Man Club was, Stuart, didn't you say it was created due to somebody's brother sort of committed suicide, and what was
forgive me if I'm wrong, Chris, I think it was someone from North London, Luke Gambler, his brother.
Luke Gambler is he's an ex professional rugby player, rugby league up in the Yorkshire area, and his brother-in-law unfortunately killed himself several years ago now, and it was off the back of that Luke and Andy is the chap who died. Andy's mother as well got together and said, what can we do about this? And it started off with just a throwaway comment on Facebook. What can be done? Should we get together and have a chat about it? From just that comment, there was a significant number of guys turned up to this place on a Monday night. Started, and then one of these was just in the room, so they're like, well, let's have a kick about with it, and then it just sort of grew from there, really.
That's amazing. Do you sanitize the ball now every time you throw it?
Well, nowadays since lockdown, we've been having to do our conversations on a similar platform to what we're doing now.
Oh, of course.
So it's been extremely, really, really helpful, especially for the guys who are shielding and not going out to school, to have that conversation throughout. Crucial, really.
How much support has Andy's Man Club received from sort of positions of authority? Has it started sort of getting some funding or a little bit of kind of PR from mainstream information sources, or is it still sort of pretty ran independently and promoted independently?
Yeah, we're certainly very independent. We I think, having been involved with other charities in the past, there is always a risk that as you start to gain momentum, you start to gain funding from certain people who have their own opinions about how their money should be spent.
Yeah.
So that is something that obviously we need to think about. In terms of other ways that we're getting support from other organisations, we've got local NHS services know that we're there and quite often refer their patients to us, as an addition to their own services. We've got the local press who always mention us if there's any should we say related news. There's a lot of people, and across Twitter as well and Facebook, there's a lot of going on about Andy's Man Club, and it's fantastic to hear that the guys that turn up on a Monday night have heard from who knows where.
It's nice to see something positive happening in the mental health space, and it's been a long time coming. Stuart, as a member, or not, is it members you refer to them as? Who knows? Stuart, as a member of this club and an attendee, what's it done for you? How's it changed your outlook and on mental health?
I mean, it was a difficult thing to begin with, walking in the door, because it's the big taboo, isn't it, of men are supposed to be alpha male, macho, just man up and deal with it. So actually getting in a room, like I've done support groups before for my other problems, as we sort of went into on the last podcast. So I'm used to that kind of group setting, but it was quite daunting initially going in to a group of men. But it's been amazing for me, because there's a lot of things that I can discuss in a group of men that I wouldn't necessarily discuss in another support group where there's females present. And yeah, it's when I'm feeling down, it's great to go, because I feel lifted every time a problem shared is a problem halved, in my opinion. So at the end of a meeting, I always feel good. And even if I am feeling good, I know I'll still come out, even if there's nothing bad going on in my life at that week, I'll still come out of the meeting feeling better, because it's that fellowship as well, isn't it? Of, there's a group of us, we've all become mates now as well, rather than just a group of guys that go to a meeting for a reason of mental health. We've all become good mates, and we all support each other through the week as well. So
I mean, you said it was daunting. I bet they were all starstruck to finally meet Jeff Capes.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Chris, what do you think? Do you think there's enough outside of Andy's Man Club? Do you think there's enough mental health support for men out there? And if not, what do you think is could be being done differently out in the mainstream?
Good question. I think it's not easy to find help. When I was struggling initially, or when I first started to realize that I was not just feeling down, but a little bit hopeless, I didn't even think that was something I could go to my GP about. So, in terms of, is there a help out there? The answer straight away to somebody who's struggling is probably no, there's not, because they don't even know where to start looking. Beyond that, I think it becomes a bit of a postcode lottery. I think, there's some people, even within the catchment area of the Exeter group, we've got people coming from sort of the Teignbridge area, Exeter itself, Mid Devon, East Devon. And it seems like everybody gets a different experience depending on where their house is. So yeah, it is awkward. I know there are services out there, and they are very stretched, and they do what they can, but there's always room for improvement, isn't there?
Stuart, what do you think? I know you have some strongly held opinions fresh out the oven on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it today, and I was, I think the society we live in, is it kind of, I don't know what your guys' opinion is, but do you think we live in a society where we're kind of, mental health is kind of being bred in us, like with this whole, the Western world that we live in, all this pressure to, get a job, be successful, and do all these things that the mainstream think we should be doing. It kind of like, it seems to create more mental health problems than there was before. Does that make sense?
This is the problem. We're doing it over internet, isn't it? It's like, it's so easy to talk over each other because you don't get enough warning. It's just a split second. And go on, you first, Chris.
I was going to say, I saw a quote on some businessy show it was, and it just said, the bloke said it with such self-belief. He said, "Good enough isn't," and it just made me think, you twat, all these people that really struggle to get up on a Monday morning, Tuesday morning, whatever morning, and they make it through the day, and that's a bloody good day's work as far as I'm concerned. If you know, and there's this bloke saying good enough isn't, you've got to be better than that. And I just thought, that's what's wrong.
Yeah, well, I've said for a long time, right, that lots of different people are very, very different. However, the metric for a successful person nowadays has become a one size fits all type thing, right? That you have to be this severely driven, high energy, motivated person to get by in this world. And some people are far more compassionate instead of competitive, and some people are more sensitive by nature than driven. And this is an issue at the moment: is where do those people fit in a society which is based on striving for success, making more money than everybody else, and working harder than everybody else? And there doesn't seem a place for people like that, other than these communities and these organizations that are being created, which is saying, you know what, it's fine not to value these things. If you prefer to, have more of a community feel, be involved in, organizations which have a different agenda than taking over the world and building a huge business and making a bunch of money, that's where they fit. Many people are better sort of their skills are better put in looking after children or looking after the elderly or caring for communities of people over, building a brand and selling as much stuff as they can. But at the moment, the most important thing pushed on us from a young age isn't necessarily being kind to others and helping everybody else. It's making as much of that green stuff as possible and buying the biggest house available. And I think that puts a lot of pressure on people. And then when you look at our influencers channels, the celebrities, the internet influencers and stuff like that, the people we're made to idolize from a young age have all of this stuff. And that just reaffirms how important it is for everybody to strive for this stuff. However, not everybody is like that by nature, and there needs to be another social norm of what these people are allowed to be like and live their lives like based on the people they are. And I kind of feel like that's a huge part of the problem at the moment.
Yeah, and it's the whole clickbait stuff, isn't it? It's as soon as something becomes popular, then that's the only thing that everybody sees on Facebook, isn't it? It's just popularity content, isn't it?
The thing that got me thinking about that was like, we're all like striving to, build a life and have a house and this and the other. But if you look at, not the best comparison, but if you look at like online videos of children in third world countries that have got nothing compared to us, they've got a real crap existence. But most of them look happier than we do because there's just there's no pressure on them to have all this stuff that we think is valuable.
I can attest to that firsthand. Yeah, I've been to a few sort of less developed countries in various different guises, and I've been completely humbled by the fact that people have got their house is made of sticks and mud, and that they have to go and fetch their water every day, and yet are far more hospitable than a lot of people that you'll meet in this country. It's.
I've always been fascinated why men, in particular, don't want to talk. What is it about the world that has made that a weakness? What is it that has caused the problem on all of our egos as men, that it's like, I don't want to tell anyone about this. I'm going to look weak, or I'm going to feel vulnerable. What's caused that?
I think if we knew that, then there wouldn't be a problem. I think that I think there's a bit of a spectrum here. I think this isn't just to do with men. This is women too. I think a lot of it is to do with how they're brought up, the role models that they see, whether that's within the family, in the community, or further. On the one hand, you've got your macho, I'm the leader of the family, so I've got to pull things together kind of, the bravado there. So, maybe you look up to those people and try and do the same, try and emulate that. On the flip side, I know some people whose parents, or maybe one parent, was completely opposite and very open with their emotions, to the point where they almost became a bit of a burden themselves. And so that's ended up meaning that second generation closes up to say, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be a burden to other people. So, it's about finding that happy medium where people are just comfortable to talk, But then there's the other side of things as well, where people don't sometimes want to listen. Maybe they are fearful that they won't be able to know what to say if somebody starts to break down and cry, or when in reality, if that happens, the answer is you don't have to say anything. You just be there, and that's all that anyone can be, is just being there, is
just making it acceptable for them to express themselves. It's probably already enough. How is helping and being part of the organization, is that accelerated your kind of awakening in a sense?
I mean, prior to going to Andy's Man Club, like yourself, I was involved with, I sort of got myself involved with various sort of self-help sources and meditation and various, all sorts of apps on my phone for calming myself. And so I was quite switched on with some of the techniques that people use to, ground themselves and try and get through the, whatever it is, episode that you're going through. But yeah, the first day I went to over in Newton Abbot was, I went in and I sort of mentioned the questions earlier on. The question came up, let's get something off your chest. And I sat there and I said, looking around the room, I've got nothing to say. There's people here, life's not going well for them. I've got a job, I'm married, I've got lovely kids, and I've got a roof over my head and all this sort of stuff. And yet I'm struggling. I don't know why. And I feel really guilty about that. And the chap who was running, he set up the Newton Abbot branch, Chris Martin, he just looked me straight in the eyes. He'd never spoken to me before. He just looked me straight in the eyes and said, everyone's got their own problems. You can't feel guilty about your own. And that was just straight away. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So, and straight away, there's just that weight of guilt that I've been carrying around with me was just gone. And yeah, just being part of that now as a facilitator means that, I may not be trying to fix everybody, and that's not really where I see Andy's Man Club, his role. I see it very much as we'll hold people's hands and get their shoulders while they're going through their problems, trying to take those problems away or fix them. But yeah, just being that support is a really overwhelming feeling, really.
Is there I know, of course, everything that is said and happens on those Monday nights stay there. Is, without saying too much about what goes on, is there a trending topic that gets brought up when you say, is there anything anyone wants to get off their chest or complain about and stuff like that? Is there like a trending thing that is getting some of these guys down?
It's difficult to say. Everybody, as you'd expect, we get a lot of people coming back week on week, and they'll often come back with, an evolution of what's happened, what they've said the previous week, and so they obviously come back with the same things. During lockdown, there's been quite a lot of talk about, I don't like this change that I'm going through, and sort of frustration of not being able to get out. A lot of them being furloughed and sort of sat twiddling their thumbs. Some going even further and having lost their jobs and their livelihoods. So there's a lot of difficulty around that. Before that, there's, Stuart mentioned earlier on about it being a group for men and being able to offload in a space that is just full of men. When I first went along, I thought that was a bit weird because I'm a bit of a sort of egalitarian, and I've got a lot of friends who are women, and I found it a little bit weird that you'd want to divide that. But it wasn't long before I realised that actually that's very beneficial, just to be able to talk among people that get it, from where you're sitting. So yeah, there's obviously quite a lot of relationship issues where there's been either difficulty ongoing or there's been a breakdown in the past, and perhaps there's kids involved. But there's, from our perspective at Andy's Man Club, it really doesn't matter what the issue is. And in my case, there wasn't any issue at all. But it was just, life was getting me down. And so, it really doesn't matter what the problem is. We'll open the doors to you,
I kind of feel like there is a global fun crisis happening, where our emotional well-being is controlled by the chemistry of our bodies, certain hormones that we rely on to fill the sense of heightened emotions and either gratitude or happiness or excitement and all that good stuff. And I think a lot of people at the moment don't actually have much time to have fun, especially people with poor mental health, where the last thing they're doing is looking after themselves. So, on the fraction amount of time they're not at work and they have the opportunity to do fun, it's like, well, I'm sitting in front of the television. There is definitely a strange thing happening right now where I don't see many men actually proactively going out there and doing things for just them, when they're not at work, or for just them and for their own kind of emotional well-being. And, in this life, we're all chasing happy. We're all, and we should all keep chasing that kind of heightened emotion, because then I think that will emanate out in a group of people, in a community of people, and everybody can raise their vibrations together as a group. And I think there needs to be a lot more promotion out there for guys and girls to just, in your downtime, get out there and stimulate yourself, have some fucking fun, and find the activities you find exciting and rewarding. And if you don't know what they are, just keep trying new stuff consistently without fail, and you'll find it. From what I can see, I've got lots of friends who struggle with mental health. I've been there myself in periods of time, and I kind of I'm looking into their lives like, okay, what's this guy doing? And I'm like, wow, there's a hell of a lot of nothing happening. No exercising, no fun activities, nothing. They're living their lives through in a relationship which is difficult for them, yet they still give it all of their agency and all of their thought. And they're putting all of their eggs in work and caring about their career and how much money they have in the bank. And they haven't actually given themselves enough time for themselves to go out there and find their passion outside of their careers, which is currently taking up 80% of their awake life. What do you think, or how do we fix that? How do we promote that? There's been this huge indoctrination process that us humans are workers, like ants in an ant farm, and we have to work our bollocks off to get anything in this life. How can we turn that on its head and achieve kind of like an even amount of promotion between work and play?
Yeah, I mean, is that the work-life balance, isn't it? As you've hit the nail on the head, really. It's when I over 10 years ago now, I went over and lived in New Zealand for a year, and what I've realised straight away was that from coming from the UK, where I'd already been in work for a while, for a few years, and you live to work almost, and then there's the weekend. Whereas over there, everything was geared around you work to live. And so, whatever line of work you're in, at 4:00 in the afternoon, your pens go down and you go out and, go for a surf or get the barbecue on, or, it's about, there's that extra third of the day, which is yours to have fun in. Where, like you're saying about sort of TV, it's over here, it seems to be very much that you go to work in the morning and you don't really do anything before work because, why would you get up too early? Then you go to work for 8 hours or whatever, and then you get home and, well, that's the day done, isn't it?
That's very true.
Going into the work side of things, do you think that this kind of attitude about being okay to talk and men being able to talk and being more compassionate needs to spread to the workplace as well? Like, as an example, like when I first started in my employer's place at the moment, if I woke up one day and my mental health was really bad and I'd be like, I can't face work today, I can't really do it, I wouldn't feel like I was able to phone work and just go, my head's not right today, I can't work. You know, it was almost like you had to phone up and I'm feeling really ill today, boss, pretend to be ill kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas my employers now have had as you know, they've had a big drive about mental health and being more compassionate to people's health and well-being, because you come to my place of work and did a little talk about Andy's Man Club there as well. And I've never worked anywhere where it's been kind of okay to actually discuss mental health with employers and they be compassionate about it. I've never been anywhere that's been like that before. I don't know if anyone else has got an employer that's similar to that.
No, I mean, I've worked for quite a few different companies over the years, and some put policies in place and say, you know, aren't we a good employer because we've got this bit of paper that says we are, that we wrote ourselves, and that's about as far as it goes. And you've got others that, you know, like yourself, put that into practice. And when you find an employer that does that, I think that's worth everything, isn't it?
Do you think that, you know, a lot of the stigma around mental health has come from the sort of man up stuff, the, you know, just get on with it type setup? I still do believe there is a place for that type of attitude in quite a few circumstances. I know it's quite controversial, but I do feel that there needs to be an element of just push through it. You know, and you're struggling, but you know that just get it done could be the difference to attending your first Andy Man's Club meeting or not. You know, but how can that advice be given to people a little bit more gently, a little bit more compassionately, other than, you know, you're being weak, man up, because that's not helpful. How can the counter argument for being more sensitive towards men's mental health issues be pragmatically and tactfully implemented a little bit better? Are there techniques in which people can learn to, you know, push through the tough times in order to, you know, get through the other side?
I think taking a step away from mental health, I think there's always a time for pushing through, like you say. And, you know, I've worked in sort of engineering design consultants for a while now. And when there's a deadline, you know, sometimes you've got to pull out the stops. Sometimes you've got to, you know, work through till midnight or sometimes beyond. And, you know, sometimes that happens. I think the danger comes when sort of senior management see that that's achievable and think, right, well, how can we do this more often? And how can we, you know, this bloke did a 15-hour day today. Therefore, he can do it. Therefore, he should do it. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's the thing, is just to be able to say, no, okay, we're fine where we are. We can do the thing when we need to, but let's not break our back over it every day. You know, we all want to go home safely, and you know, going back to the sort of the construction analogy, normally that means, you know, wearing a hard hat and you know, looking around you on site, but actually it's also about protecting what's inside your own head as well.
Jeff Capes, what do you think? I want to get a picture of Jeff Capes up on my phone. I need to see.
I've never seen you so lost for words, Jack.
So
yeah,
which Jeff?
I mean, I don't want to get too political, but
yes, you do. You love it, Steve. You absolutely love it. Every single time he comes on the podcast, we have a little chat before, and he's like, "Mate, I want to talk about BLM. I want to talk about Black Lives Matter. I want to talk about the Illuminati. Did we even land on the moon?" Every single time, without fail, doesn't want to get political.
So we were talking on my first podcast about I was talking about alcohol and addiction, and I was saying about how that if alcohol was discovered now, it'd be a banned substance because it's like one of the worst drugs going. What it does to people. Alcohol is a suppressive depressant, so it's like it gives you an initial high, but then ultimately leads to further depression. So there's this chemical that the government promote, and I come up with a theory that what they make in tax on alcohol, they probably spend more than that on the public services to deal with the effects of alcohol, whether it be NHS or things like that. And a good friend of mine, Jack, decided he'd get the figures for me today and actually came up with figures of it. So it's actually shocking that the government makes, was it 10.7 billion?
10.7 billion in, well, that's what happened, I think, in 2018. I don't imagine the change is very different. They probably made way more than that actually over lockdown.
And the NHS was something like 3.5 billion spent on incidents relating to alcohol. So they're making a massive profit on. I was shocked when he told me the figures. I didn't think it was something as high as 10.7 billion. But they're making a mass.
Well, but it's not going to amount to the difference, is it? So yeah.
So effectively, the government are making money on everyone using this drug that's a depressant that I think doesn't help towards mental health issues. You know, the more people drink, some people drink safely and it's okay, but ultimately it's a drug that's a depressant.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right, Stuart. And I think it's strange. I mean, the history has experimented with banning alcohol, and you've only got to look back to sort of the early 20th century in America, where it didn't end too well over there. There's no easy answer, is there? Either you keep going or you don't, and both of them have their fallout.
I mean, obviously, because I'm someone who's an alcoholic, and I admit I'm an alcoholic, and I choose not to drink now. My views of alcohol are very different. To a lot of people, it's a normal thing to do. Go out on Saturday night, have a couple of beers, and have some fun.
But also, I don't feel like you need to either have been an alcoholic or be an alcoholic to understand that you shouldn't be drinking in excess as well. And I actually kind of feel like there was a decent amount of support when I was a child through schools and stuff like that, actually sort of explaining that alcohol can be bad. And it was kind of it was put into my head quite healthily. But again, it depends the influences you had when you grew up. If you grew up with people around you drinking from a young age, parents who drink, you can bet sure as bare hell that their kids are going to end up drinking. And that's like, have we just lost Chris?
I think so.
It's just me. You bored him to death, man. I told you not to get political, man. I told you, and it happened. You did it, and now look what happens, man.
He was like, fuck this, get out.
He's out, man. He's actually probably on the way to Co-op, mate, to pick up a crate. you might have sold it to him.
I've sent him over the edge to go get a drink.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about your shot put career. Look at this. Look, is it this Jeff Capes? This guy here.
I can't see that, mate.
You must be able to. I can see what they're getting at, though. You go. That's you want to be the original Jeff Capes, don't you? Really?
I mean, like, props to whoever come up with the comment. It was amazing. It was amazing. It gave me, me and Jack were going out for food the other night, and when I told him, he thought you were a friend of mine, and he thought it was one of my mates giving pants. And then we said that it wasn't, and we had a right laugh on the way to the getting food, laughing at that comment. So yeah, keep them coming. I love the comments.
Chris, how's it going, man? You good?
Yeah.
We thought you were just running to a cart to pick up a crate of beer, mate. After that conversation.
Yeah, I couldn't handle it.
So where can people find Andy's Man Club? What towns and cities are they in?
Yeah, so across Devon, we've got 4 groups of Andy's Man Club in Plymouth, Newton Abbot, Torbay, and Exeter. And yeah, we've got 24 other groups across the country as well, Wales, England, Scotland. So the thing to do really is, if you want to find out and want to get involved, is to have a look at andysmanclub.co.uk, find a group that's near you, and if it's close enough that you'd want to go, then drop an email to us, which is info@andysmanclub.co.uk, and yeah, we'll find a way for you to get in.
Are the meetups happening now, or is it still over voice video call?
Yeah, we're still doing it on video calls for the while. So because we've got that many different venues across the country, each with their COVID policies. With Andy's Man Club's got its own COVID policy. So it's a matter of finding out which of those venues is even open, and how we can align our policies to theirs and vice versa, so that we can get it going. But so talks are underway, and we hope to get back in as soon as we can. Really,
I initially thought it was like created local to Devon, because there were so many groups in Devon compared to other places of the country.
Yeah, you'd think that. It's certainly for the south of England, we are massive. You've got to go as far as Peterborough or maybe Stafford before you find the next Andy's Man Club after Exeter. So we are blessed. It's fantastic to have this, and we've also got the guys at Newton Abbot have set up a sort of a sister organisation, I suppose. It's another charity called Women's Wellbeing Club. So it does exactly the same as what we do. They turn up on a Tuesday night and do exactly the same thing. And so they've got Torbay, Newton Abbot, Exeter, and a few places across the north of England and Scotland as well. So it's both sexes catered for.
Awesome. I imagine they still think they're doing a better job somehow. Yeah. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Wrong timing, bad timing. Well, look, Chris, thanks so much for coming on. Keep up the good work. It's clearly an incredible organization. Far more beneficial than tons of organization and movements that keep popping up everywhere. Keep being helpful. I'll definitely attend on one Monday when it's when you guys open back up. Keep me posted. Where is it you normally do it in Exeter?
In Exeter, we're normally at the football club.
Oh, cool. Okay, the main football club.
The main
Exeter.
football club.
Awesome.
Exeter club.
Okay, wicked. Yeah, I'll definitely join you. Join you sometimes. Thanks very much for coming on, Stuart. Any other conspiracies, politics you want to get off your chest before we end?
No, mate. I'm going to save. See, the thing is, like, I've never been able to talk about political stuff with Chris because we're always on the Man Club, and it's one of the rules that we don't talk about politics. So, I had to get a little bit political in there, whilst I could with Chris. But I guess that's for a private chat, Chris.
I was going to say, we'll find a way to do that.
Cool.
Well, look, Andy's Man Club, hit them up, 7 p.m. Mondays, Google it. And Chris, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it, man.
Coming on.
Catch you later.
Cheers, Chris.